Okay, part 5 of my video documentary. I will be going through adulthood and late adulthood. So, to start, bring up my little diagram here again. And during adulthood, they're going through all the stages again. So again, physiological needs. I have a hard time saying that for some reason. Safety, love, belonging, esteem, and self-actualization. So under Maslow, again, you're going through all these needs. So hopefully all of them are met. You know, you feel safe, you feel happy, and comfortable with your living arrangements. You have shelter, esteem, self-actualization. And under Erikson, this is the generativity versus stagnation stage. So this is where adults are choosing to benefit future generations by, nurturing things now that'll help in the future, or choosing not to, whether you don't want to or because you just don't have the opportunity, and being, stagnant for it. Success under Maslow's all of the needs during this stage. Healthy relationships, stability, high self-esteem, hopefully you have high self-esteem, work, and family life, high, esteem in those aspects, you feel confident in your work and your family, because this is a stage in life where people have usually started their families, usually have kids at this point, and they're working to make it better, that type of thing. Hopefully you have intimacy with your loved ones at this stage, and, you're working to your best ability in family and career. Failure would be underachievement, feeling like you could be doing more. Loneliness, low self-esteem, whether it's in work or, family life again, and, not having those basic needs met. Maybe shelter isn't great, or you aren't bringing in the money to feed yourself or your family. For Erikson, under generativity versus stagnation stage, success would be feeling fulfilled with life, like you've made a difference for future generations, whether it's your kids or just in general. Failure would be unhappiness with life, and maybe with yourself. Maybe like you haven't changed anything for the future and you're unhappy about it. Interaction of the two. Fulfilling Maslow's needs, I think, makes for more generativity. The feel-good, do-good phenomenon, kind of, but in an opposite way. You feel good about your life, you want to make others feel good, and kind of benefits each other, plays off each other. So, myself, personally, like a personal relation, my dad's a farmer, and I think he's in the adult stage of his life, and he's talked about not selling off land if any of his kids are interested in the trade. So I think for him, he feels like he's benefiting, or hopefully, benefiting future, in this case, familiar relationships, by not selling land, by keeping it for his kids, and if they want to go into it, they'll have like a head start. Because I know my brother's expressing interest, and he's even talked to me, like, even if you just have it as a hobby, you want it as a hobby, I'm not going to sell it off because you have this interest. So for him, he's benefiting future generations for it, and also under Maslow's, like in retrospect of Maslow, I think he's at that point where he's happy with his life. He feels like he's doing all that he can to keep the farm going, keep the family going. His esteem is high in his work. He, is happy with his relationships, and feels like his needs are met and his family's needs are met. For late adulthood, the last stage, including death and dying, looking at this again, under Maslow's hierarchy, it's a little different. I've looked at different sites, different books about this. Some agree that in this late stage of life, people have self-actualization because this is the stage where they're more creative, they're more moral, they're problem solvers or lacks of prejudice just because they're at that stage in their life where, you know, the work is done. But other sites don't agree because they aren't working at their full potential as they would have been when they were in their prime and their emerging adulthood and adulthood in general. I kind of agree with that just because they're not working anymore. You know, they kind of can't, usually, you know, if they're retired, so. But personally, I think it goes up to love and belonging for them, these three. So physiological safety and love and belonging. And so with that being said, under Maslow, I don't think every need needs to be filled like adulthood or emerging adulthood do, because they're typically retired. Their bodies are weaker, their drives aren't, you know, as ambitious or set as high, their goals aren't as high. They aren't living at their fullest potential, but they do need love, and they do need safety and physiological needs, obviously. So they need people for support, they need safety, you know, whether they're living at home or in a retirement home, and they need food, and they need water and sleep, just like everyone else. So under Erikson, this is the integrity versus despair stage. So this is where they find fulfillment when they look back on their life, or they regret it, you know, have regrets and they're bitter about it. For success under Maslow's hierarchy of needs during this stage, I think having financial security, you know, everybody hopes that they have that 401k by the time they retire. You know, hopefully they're in good health. I think that's part of the success, is being in good health and having all the necessities that they need. And a failure would be struggling to make ends meet. Some people don't have that 401k, don't have the money. Maybe they're in poor health, maybe they don't have good relationships with their family members or friends. But success under Erikson's integrity versus despair, I think that this would mean they look back with dignity on their lives, and they're happy with the choices that they made, and the rest of their, you know, loved ones, and happy with their relationships. And I think a failure would be that they're bitter about it. They look back and they have all these regrets about things they didn't do. They're unhappy with their relationships. But interaction between the two, I think having like lower needs means that like the person is probably going to struggle with despair. I think when the needs aren't met, you're just naturally not going to be as happy, and because of that you'll be in more despair than you will be in the integrity stage of Erikson's, in retrospect to Maslow's. So but yeah, I think if your needs are met, you know, you're happy with your health, you're happy with your relationships, you're gonna look back and not have as many regrets, and you're gonna be in that integrity stage. Final personal relation. I thought about my great-grandmother when I was reviewing all my information here, because before she died, I was young when she died, but she would always talk about her travels. She went to all 50 states, and she was a one-room schoolhouse teacher, and she loved to talk about it. She thinks it's like one of the coolest things. You know, times had obviously changed because this was in maybe 2005, 2006, but so yeah, she really liked talking about it because it was cool to look back and see how things used to be, and you don't really meet that many people who can say that anymore, that they worked in a one-room schoolhouse, they were a teacher, especially because she was a woman at that time, and so I think it's interesting. But yeah, she found that integrity, and she was happy with her needs, she was financially secure, and I think they kind of played off Maslow's and Erikson's stages of development in that way. And finally, death and dying kind of goes along with the same hierarchy here, because when you're dead you kind of don't really need any of these needs, but as you're dying, you know, you hope that you have that integrity and, you know, you're happy with your life, and not everyone is, but like in personal relation. I know my grandmother was very content with her life when she passed. She passed exactly how she wanted to, in her favorite chair, in her, like, because her living room was just a window, like complete window on the wall of the river, the St. Clair River, and she just passed in her chair peacefully, just watching the freighters go by. So, but yeah, there is my psych project. There is all of the periods of the lifespan and Erikson and Maslow comparisons. I hope you enjoyed my video documentary. And yeah, there's, again, the papers that I made here, all these little drawings I've been referring to, they are in the slides if you go to the next page. And the next page, I also have a little Jeopardy game at the end as a review if you'd like to play it. Doesn't matter to me, but it's there if you want. Alright,